Good morning and welcome to worship. Today we continue our journey through Matthew's Gospel and we'll be exploring a bit more about the parable of the sheep and the goats. So I've got a few friends joining me today who are making their first appearance on Viral Church. But we're going to begin with a call to worship, which is Psalm 100. And this is a call to give thanks to the Lord in the temple. But this is a call to the whole world into God's presence and to praise him. So Psalm 100. Make a joyful noise unto the Lord, all the earth. Worship the Lord with goodness. Come into his presence with singing. Know that the Lord is God. It is he that made us, and we are his. We are his people, the sheep of his pasture. Enter his gates with thanksgiving and his courts with praise. Give thanks to him, bless his name. For the Lord is good, his steadfast love endures forever, and his faithfulness to all generations. So now I invite you to sing our first hymn, Sing of the Lord's Goodness.
Sing of the Lord's goodness, Father of all wisdom, come to him and bless his name.
Mercy he has shown us, his love is forever, faithful to the end of days.
Come then all you nations, sing of the Lord's goodness, melodies of praise and thanks to God. Bring out the Lord's glory, praise him with your music, worship him and bless his name. He has spoken, one bread he has broken, new life he now gives to all. Come then all you nations, sing of the Lord's goodness, melodies of praise and thanks to God. Bring out the Lord's glory, praise him with your music, worship him and bless his name. Courage in our darkness,
comfort in our sorrow,
Spirit of our God most high,
solace for the weary,
pardon for the sinner,
splendor of the living God.
Come and all you nations, sing of the Lord's goodness, melodies of praise and thanks to God. Bring out the Lord's glory, praise him with your music, worship him and bless his name. Praise God with the lute and harp. Praise him with the cymbals. Praise him with your dancing. Praise God till the end of days. Come then all you nations, sing of the Lord's goodness, melodies of praise and thanks to God. Bring out the Lord's glory, praise him with your music, worship him and bless his name. Bless his name. Bless his name, bless his name, bless his name.
And so we come to God in prayer. Let us pray. Loving God, worthy of all praise and honour, great and wonderful, merciful and loving, we come to worship you, to lift our hearts in grateful praise. We thank you for this time set apart week by week, for these moments when we can regularly draw aside and enjoy your presence. We thank you for fellowship shared with one another, with Christ and with you. We thank you that you want to meet with us, speak to us, move in us, and work through us. That you are here now, waiting to lead us forward in the journey of faith. Help us to use this time that you have given us to hear your voice, discern your will, and grow closer to you, so that we may return to our daily lives renewed in hope and vision, strengthened in our faith, and equipped to offer thanksgiving, not just with our lips, but through everything we are and do, to the glory of your name, because we ask our prayers in and through the name of Jesus. Amen. And so we join our prayers together as we say the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power and the glory, for ever and ever. Amen. Our reading this morning is taken from Matthew's Gospel, chapter 25, and beginning to read at verse 31. When the Son of Man comes in his glory and all the angels with him, then he will sit on the throne of his glory. All the nations will be gathered before him, and he will separate people one from another, as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. And he will put the sheep at his right hand and the goats at his left. Then the king will say to those at his right hand, Come, you that are blessed by my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me food. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you welcomed me. I was naked, and you gave me clothing. I was sick, and you took care of me. I was in prison, and you visited me. Then the righteous will answer him, Lord, when was it that we saw you hungry and gave you food, or thirsty and gave you something to drink? And when was it that we saw you a stranger and welcomed you, or naked and gave you clothing? And when was it we saw you sick or in prison and visited you? And the king will answer them, Truly I tell you, just as you did it to one of the least of these who are members of my family, you did it to me. Then he will say to those at his left hand, You that are accursed, depart from me into the eternal fire, prepared for the devil and all his angels. For I was hungry, and you gave me no food. I was thirsty, and you gave me nothing to drink. I was a stranger, and you did not welcome me. Naked, and you did not give me clothing. Sick and in prison, and you did not visit me. Then they also will answer, Lord, when was it that we saw you hungry or thirsty or a stranger, or naked or sick or in prison, and did not take care of you? Then he will answer them, truly, I tell you, just as you did not do it to one of the least of these, you did not do it to me. And these will go away into eternal punishment, but the righteous into eternal life. We thank God for his word.
Who doesn't love a good story? I know that I do. I read an article recently about how great storytellers keep their readers and listeners curious. Particularly at the beginning of a story, there's a fine balance to be struck between giving too much information or too little. I'm going to share with you what I consider to be a good example of getting that balance right from an old classic here. Just 3 sentences from the first page. See if you recognise the book. I'll tell you where it's from a little later. Marley was dead to begin with. There is no doubt whatever about that. This must be distinctly understood, or nothing wonderful can come of the story I am going to relate. Already we are curious. Who was Marley? How did he die? Was it suspicious? What on earth has it got to do with the rest of the story? For me, the balance of curiosity in Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol is perfectly poised. One of the many titles that we can give to Jesus must surely be a master storyteller. Stories are great tools for teaching, and Jesus was engaging and topical. His listeners got drawn into his stories, and they often provoked a reaction, which was what was intended. But Jesus wasn't in the business of telling bedtime stories. The stories he told were often challenging and shocking. And so in Matthew chapter 25, we come across a series of stories about judgment. And here today, we hear the story of the sheep and the goats. So remembering, of course, how important it is to begin your story, let's remind ourselves again of how this parable begins. When the Son of Man comes in his glory and all the angels with him, he will sit on his throne in heavenly glory, and all the nations will be gathered before him, and he'll separate the people one from another, as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. He will put the sheep on his right and the goats on his left. Now this is a big story, and as I've just read those verses, you may, together with me, have kind of built up a picture in your mind of how this scene might look. It's a magnificent scene. But why are there 2 groups of people? Why separate them? There's this feeling of uneasiness because this is a judgment scene. And our curiosity is captured. We cannot leave the story now. We need to know what is going to happen to both of these groups of people. And perhaps what's really pointed about this story is, if you notice, all nations are present. Well, if that's the case, then that means that you and I are in this story too. This story includes us. And by verse 33, Jesus has got my attention right there. So we have the Son of Man at the centre of this magnificent scene. He is the judge, but he's also the one that bestows a blessing. He will separate the people one from another as the shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. And as you will be aware, in the Middle East, shepherds had different sheep and goats. They didn't look like the herdwicks that we have here. The sheep and the goats looked very, very similar. And so it's up to the shepherd to decide which one was which. The sheep in this story are put on the right and the goats on the left. And again, as you will be aware, right and left in Jewish culture, as indeed many other cultures, signified favour and disfavour, good and bad fortune. And what determined their future was how they responded to the least of these brothers and sisters of mine. And we note in the dialogue that follows, the dominant theme in this story is one of surprise. For the sheep, first of all, these actions were performed for those who could not repay the kindness that had been shown to them. We may actually call that unconditional love. The sheep in the parable seem to be blissfully unaware of the beauty and the devotion of their lives, and their commendation was similarly received with surprise. Then, of course, there is the surprise of the goats too. And their guilt arises not so much from doing things wrong as from failure to do right. To do nothing is to be seen as the road to condemnation. So it's not a complicated story, but its message is as relevant today as it was when Jesus first shared that story. There are 6 works of love: feeding the hungry, giving a drink to the thirsty, welcoming the stranger, clothing the naked, taking care of the sick, and visiting the prisoner. And note, this list is not exhaustive. But we miss the point completely if we read this as a list of tasks that need to be undertaken and we tick them off as we do them. God wants us to do these things naturally, as if they are second nature to us. But if I were to enter into the conversation here and ask the question, who is the least of these brothers and sisters of mine? Maybe that means everyone at some point in our lives, but more particularly perhaps those for whom no one cares at all. So where do we find these least of the brothers and sisters of mine? Cardinal Basil Hume, in his book To Be a Pilgrim, writes these words: "The pilgrim's heart and mind are fixed on far horizons, but must never ignore or make light of injustice, pain and deprivation here in the passing world. Each day provides for the pilgrim the tasks that have to be undertaken." So perhaps the questions we need to ask ourselves today aren't necessarily, I wonder if I'm a sheep or a goat, but rather, how open am I to respond compassionately to human need? And how do I learn these gracious acts of compassion? Let's be absolutely clear here. This story is not about achieving salvation through works. These simple actions are motivated by a Christian's love for God and their neighbour. I have always regarded compassion as love with its sleeves rolled up. And Jesus intended his followers to be utterly different people who reflected God and his love in a whole new way to the world. At no other time in the history of Christianity Did love so characterise the entire church as it did in the first 3 centuries? And Roman society sat up and took note. Around that time, there was an individual called Tertullian who reported that the Romans would look at the Christian church and say, "See how they love one another." But it wasn't just fellow Christians that they loved and served. When a devastating plague swept across the ancient world in the 3rd century, Christians cared for the sick. And they did this at the risk of contracting the plague themselves. This was one of the ways that the Christian faith spread, even when the Roman emperors were determined to stamp it out. People saw Christians behaving like this and wanted to know why. The world was full of people who didn't help and didn't care for the weak and the vulnerable. And the Christians were modelling a new way of being human. It was and remains compelling. Showing compassion to the least of these brothers and sisters of mine doesn't have to be as heroic as that example I've just shared. During the coronavirus period, I have been so heartened by the ministry of the church. That's you. I've heard countless stories of compassion and generosity, not just towards our own church families, but within our communities as well. As a minister here in Western Fells, I could not be more proud of our churches and our worshipping communities. And I want to encourage you today to continue to show those acts of kindness, which are deeply, deeply appreciated and much needed, particularly at this time. And so I encourage you again to be the best sheep that you can be and to play your part in bringing God's kingdom here on earth. Amen.
And so we come to our time of prayer for others. Let us pray. Sovereign God, we bring before you our troubled world, a world of so much hatred, suspicion, greed and envy, so much poverty, exploitation, violence and suffering. And yet a world you love so much that you became a part of it through your Son, offering your love to bring it healing. We bring before you our sense of frustration and hopelessness in the face of so much need. Our awareness that there is so little we can do to help, so little we can even influence, let alone change. And yet you call us to respond in whatever ways we can, to pray, to give, to serve, and to sacrifice in the cause of your kingdom. Help us to do that faithfully, offering our love unreservedly, encouraging those who offer compassion and support to others, supporting all who work for peace and justice, and petitioning those with the power to shape the affairs of this world. We thank you that, though it may sometimes seem otherwise, we are not alone, nor dependent solely on our own resources. For you are constantly at work, striving to change lives, to redeem situations, to shape the course of history. We rejoice that you are able to speak and move through the ordinary people like us, taking our feeble faith and hesitant discipleship, and using both in ways far beyond our expectations. We praise you that whatever may conspire against you and frustrate your purposes, your will shall finally be done, and your kingdom come. Inspire us with that knowledge, with the assurance that in every situation of human need, you are there, and that in responding to these, we are responding also to you. In the name of Christ, we ask these our prayers. Amen.
Ewetina, 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 Ewetina,
We walk his ways. We walk His way. We walk His way. We walk His way. We walk His way. We walk His way.
So thank you for joining us in worship today, and I share with you a blessing. Whoever you are, wherever you go, whatever your strengths, whatever your weaknesses, God will be with you to hold, to heal, to guide, and to bless. Go then in peace, assured of His love. Amen.